what are some of the risks that you feel have to be addressed as part of a digital transformation?
Well, Jeremiah just teed that one up. It's the skills, I think, is a risk, right? You don't want to overcommit unless you have the right people to help support that transformation. We touched on the budget. I think that people and organizations and boards have to understand that this is an investment, to keep an organization viable and productive and secure. And you'll keep hearing me go back to secure, because that always seems to be one thing that is at the tail end. And you see all these things in the news every day. Another organization or having an impact, and it can run into the billions of dollars for some of these large organizations. But again, the risks associated with it is sometimes being a little bit too optimistic on the time frames. The risk is having the right information at the right time. So communication throughout the process has to be imperative. Breaking down barriers, silos, all those things, they're all risks, because organizations have a lot of inertia, and unless you really understand those pain points and how to help them optimize what they're doing, you may miss the mark. So you may be investing a lot of time and energy into something that may not have a return or may not be necessary, because it'll be eliminated down the path, by something else. So it's looking at these things in a very methodical and kind of dispassionate mode, where you try to take the emotion out of it, and people say it's personal or whatever. No, it's not really personal. People will take some of these things personally because it will change how they work. Right. But the goal is to support the organization's goals and the stakeholders, and bring the employees along. And I know one of the other questions will be on training and stuff like that, all the stuff that Jeremiah touched on earlier. Those are all risks that need to be brought up front, right? So no one likes surprises, especially a board, right? You don't want to come back as a transformation and say, I forgot about this.
High risk.
It's we're doing all these changes, we're moving all this stuff around, and we're building all these services, but we forgot to get someone to help us on the security side. That probably wouldn't fly very well.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting at their technology projects. And so it's interesting that the answer on risks was almost everything other than what we think of as the classic technology piece. It's people, process, buy-in, change, training, all of that. Jeremiah.
Usually the technology is, I won't say is interoperable or plug and play or whatever. The technology is an enabler.
Sure.
It's everything else that runs the business.
Right.
Yeah.
Starting with the people.
Yeah. Jeremiah, any other experience that you've been through that we can learn from, or thoughts on things that you kind of make sure that you check down on for risk as you go into the digital transformation and continue that journey?
Well, I think, as Bob said, that a new technology can help you move forward. This goes back to the reverse, the technology debt, the coming into an organization where you're so far behind, you've got to get caught up before you can even look at the future. And that's going to slow down your timelines. That's going to slow down a lot of things too. Coming into an organization that's got a terminal server environment that is, behind, and then they try to upgrade it at one point and they abandon it. And now you've got to basically, instead of looking that one iteration improvement, have to start from scratch, right? Because the way Windows and everything else works, they don't want you to go from a big leapfrog from an old version to the newest version. So I think that's a good example of the technology debt can really hold you back. It's why it's important to try to stay as current as you can. You just got to budget, you got to plan, you got to have that roadmap that keeps everything caught up, so you're always moving forward instead of playing catch up.
Good points.
Actually, sorry, Rick. One thing I would add also, because Jeremiah just jogged a thought, is I would kind of highlight, essentially the objectives and the key results for each phase, and constantly report on them, because that helps with the communication. That also will help if there are always going to be a gotcha, right? There's something, as you're peeling the onion, you're going to find something that you didn't know anything about, regardless of your inventory up front. It's going to pop up because it's something that only happens once every 3 months.
That you don't know that you didn't even know that you didn't know.
Yeah, so having those objectives and key results and the timeline and reporting on those as part of the communication, I think, constantly will help also.
That's a great point. Kishore, anything else that you've seen that kind of across the canvas dealing with risk and thinking about risk of getting into digital transformation? We definitely talked a whole lot about people, processes. I do like kind of that continuity and setting goals and tracking that for everybody to be aware of where they're headed. But any other things that you want to add in there?
Yeah, sure. So one major thing that we see across the board, working with different clients, let it be SMBs or enterprise level, cultural resistance. Okay, so we have seen a lot of times with many teams, people within the companies, they resist implementing new technologies and process because they lack the understanding and also due to the fear, right? That is number one thing that we see, that needs to be mitigated with the leadership, inclusive, to build that culture within the strategy itself. So when they make the digital transformation strategy or a vision, they have to have this cultural fit, a technology cultural fit for the emerging technologies. It's kind of a step-by-step strategy. So before they embark on a transformation journey, and how to set the clear vision and objectives for the entire people within the company to set that learning mindset. So be able to either self-train or assist them in mentoring, creating the mentoring teams, or assist them through the service providers like us, right? So we have matter experts. We always educate our clients on different aspects that they are really set towards. So that is a major thing that I see. But I think rest of the aspects, I think Bob and Jeremy already touched upon. So
no, that really is a key point. I've always said in the past, and apologize to people that have heard me say this in the past, but a culture of fear is diametrically opposite a culture of innovation. Right? You have to be allowed to innovate. You have to be allowed to fail, and you have to allow people to experiment. And getting in quickly, and we may touch on it in a little bit, but getting some easy wins and seeing some progress then gets that excitement. It's okay to fail. If something doesn't work, it's okay. You don't hide it. You say, we thought this was going to address the issue. It didn't. This is plan B and what we're going to do to, but that constant innovation and showing success, I think, helps with that, Kishore, a little bit, trying to show people that it's okay. It's going to take some time, take training, and, take an investment on everyone's part, not just the leadership and the managers on down. Everyone has to participate in it in order for innovation to really succeed.
Yes, it's inclusive effort.
Yeah, and those are great points. I mean, really a cultural environment where people feel safe trying things that are risky, and when they don't work out as you expected, that everybody digs in as, what did we learn from that, as opposed to who do we blame for that. So yeah, it's a lot about culture. It's a lot to do with people.